Here's a question worth sitting with before we start. How many of your current monthly expenses did you consciously choose, and how many simply appeared over time as the natural consequence of the life you were building? Not the rent or the mortgage, not the groceries. The other things. The after-school program that started as optional and became mandatory. The car that was one tier above what you needed but felt appropriate for where you'd arrived. The vacation that had to be a certain kind of vacation, because that's what people in your position do. The kitchen renovation that happened, not because the kitchen was broken, but because everyone else's kitchen had been renovated. If you're honest about it, the list is longer than you expected. That's not a personal failing. It's a mechanism, and it's operating on you right now in ways that are almost impossible to see from the inside. The mechanism is called social mirroring. It is not a conspiracy. It doesn't require anyone to be deliberately manipulating you. It is something far more powerful. It is a self-organizing system that emerges from the intersection of human psychology and a consumer economy that has spent decades learning exactly how to exploit it. Here is the foundation. Human beings are social animals in a way that goes much deeper than preference. For most of human history, belonging to a group was not optional. It was the difference between surviving and not surviving. Ostracism was a death sentence. The brain evolved across hundreds of thousands of years to be exquisitely sensitive to social cues, to observe what others in the group were doing, to adapt, to conform, to constantly read the environment for signals about what is normal, what is acceptable, what constitutes enough. That hardwiring doesn't switch off because you have a salary and a mortgage. It operates underneath every financial decision you make. It is the quiet interpreter that tells you whether you are enough, whether your home is enough, your car is enough, your children's opportunities are enough, your life is enough. And it reads those signals not from your own internal compass, but from the behavior of the people around you. This is social mirroring. You are not copying your peers consciously. You are calibrating to them automatically, the way a compass needle calibrates to magnetic north. The compass doesn't decide to point north. It has no choice, and neither, largely, do you, unless you can see the field that's pulling it. The modern economy did not create this mechanism, but it learned to use it with extraordinary precision. The shift happened gradually over the second half of the 20th century. As mass media, then digital media, then social media expanded the peer group from the 50 people you physically encountered to an effectively unlimited audience of curated lives flowing through your phone each morning before you've gotten out of bed. The peer group got larger. The comparison set got wider. The baseline of normal, the floor of what counts as an acceptable life for someone at your income level, got pushed steadily upward by an expanding supply of aspirational reference points. Social media accelerated this in a specific way worth naming. The curated feed doesn't show you the full distribution of how people at your income level actually live. It shows you the upper tail, the best vacations, the most recent renovations, the most aspirational milestones. The algorithm selects for engagement, and aspirational content generates engagement. So the reference point you're unconsciously calibrating against is not the median of your peer group. It is the highlight reel of the most aspirational members of it. A benchmark that has been algorithmically optimized to make you feel just slightly behind, and therefore just motivated enough to keep spending. The unwritten social rules that govern your spending are not written anywhere. They don't appear in any contract. No one ever sat you down and explained them, and yet you know them. You know what kind of car is appropriate for your income level and your neighborhood. You know what kind of vacation signals that you're doing well. You know what your children's activities say about your priorities as a parent. You know what your kitchen says about you. You absorb these rules the same way you absorbed language through immersion, through observation, through the quiet feedback of approval and disapproval from the people whose opinion you have decided matters. The rules are specific to your tier. The pressure a household at $120,000 feels is different from the pressure a household at $320,000 feels. But the mechanism is identical. As income rises, the peer group shifts and the unwritten rules recalibrate upward. The threshold of enough moves. The baseline of acceptable rises, and the gap between income and actual financial freedom, the room to move, the ability to stop, stays stubbornly, mysteriously narrow. This is what makes social mirroring different from simple peer pressure. Peer pressure is visible. You can resist it consciously. Social mirroring operates below the level of conscious resistance. It doesn't present itself as pressure. It presents itself as normalcy. The expense doesn't feel like capitulation to external expectation. It feels like the obvious, rational next step. It feels like your own decision. Who profits from this? Almost every industry that sells lifestyle, status, or aspiration. Real estate developers who sell not just square footage, but school districts and social networks. Car manufacturers whose upgrade cycles are built around a social rhythm, not a mechanical one. Educational institutions that charge a premium not for curriculum, but for the peer group and the credential. Travel companies, home improvement retailers, luxury brands. They don't need to manufacture desire from scratch. They need only to ensure the social conditions that make certain desires feel mandatory. They sell to the mechanism, not to the individual. And the mechanism delivers reliably because the mechanism is human nature. Consider the education market as a standalone example. A good school is not purely an academic product. It is a social signal, an entry point into a specific network, a marker of parental seriousness. The premium parents pay in tuition, in real estate, in foregone geographic flexibility is not primarily for the curriculum. It is for the peer group their child will grow up inside. And for what membership in that peer group signals about the family. The mechanism understands this. The pricing reflects it. And the parents, operating under social mirroring, often pay it not because they've calculated that the academic premium justifies the cost, but because the social cost of not paying it, of being the parent who chose the wrong school, feels higher than the financial cost of paying it. The same logic governs the home renovation market. Renovations in established neighborhoods don't happen on independent timelines driven by actual deterioration. They happen in waves. A cluster of renovations on one street creates a new visual baseline, which makes the unrenovated homes around them appear dated by comparison, which creates social pressure on those homeowners, which generates the next wave of renovations. The home improvement industry doesn't manufacture this pressure. It simply positions itself to capture it when it arrives. The mechanism does the marketing. The broader financial system benefits from a different angle. Debt, in a world of social mirroring, is not a product sold to people who can't afford something. It's a product sold to people who can almost afford it, who are one income tier below the lifestyle their social environment has made feel necessary. The mortgage that stretches to get into the right school district, the home equity line that funds the renovation that the neighborhood now requires, the car loan that bridges the gap between the car you drive and the car people at your level drive. Each of these is a rational transaction given the social context. The social context is what generates the demand. The financial system provides the instrument, and the interest payments, quiet, monthly, automatic, are the mechanism's most efficient revenue stream. Now here is the layer that rarely gets examined. Social mirroring doesn't just shape what you spend. It shapes what you believe you need. And eventually, it shapes who you believe you are. The after-school program that started as optional became over 2 years a component of your identity as a parent. Removing it wouldn't just save money, it would feel like failure. The car that was one tier above what you needed is now simply your car. Downgrading it wouldn't feel like a financial decision. It would feel like a statement about how far you've fallen. The vacation that had to be a certain kind of vacation has become the vacation your family expects, the one your children will remember, the one that defines what your family does. The expense is no longer just an expense. It is a load-bearing wall in the structure of who you are. This is where social mirroring becomes most expensive. Not at the point of purchase, at the point where the purchase becomes identity. Because identity is not renegotiable in the same way a subscription is. You can cancel a streaming service. You cannot easily cancel the version of yourself that your spending has been slowly constructing, not without a confrontation with social judgment, family expectation, and your own sense of who you've become. The career dimension of this is worth examining separately. Many people remain in jobs that are no longer fulfilling, jobs that are exhausting, misaligned, or simply wrong for the person they've become, not because they can't find alternatives, but because the alternatives would require a lifestyle adjustment that their social environment has made feel like failure. A lateral move that came with a pay cut, a pivot into a field with lower initial earning but more genuine alignment, a decision to work less and earn less in exchange for time. Each of these is, in isolation, a financially viable choice for a household earning significantly above average. But social mirroring makes them feel catastrophic because the lifestyle built around the current income has no slack to absorb even a temporary reduction, and because the social signal of stepping back carries a cost that doesn't show up in any financial model. The invisible handcuff isn't the job. It's the life the job funds. And the life the job funds was not designed by you alone. It was co-designed by your social environment, shaped by the unwritten rules of your peer group, and then internalized so thoroughly that it now feels like your own preference. Let's run the math on what this costs, and these numbers are illustrative, so run your own. A household earning $300,000 a year, subject to a relatively modest level of social mirroring pressure, an extra $1,500 a month in lifestyle calibration spending above what they would choose in the absence of social expectation. That's $18,000 a year. Over 10 years, that's $180,000 in direct expenditure. But the opportunity cost runs further. If that $18,000 annually had instead been redirected into an investment vehicle at a hypothetical 7% annual return, after 10 years, the cumulative value would be over $248,000. After 20 years, over $737,000. The mechanism doesn't just cost you what you spend. It costs you the compounding value of what you don't save, the financial optionality, the room to move, the ability to make a different choice 10 years from now. And that lost optionality is not evenly distributed. It concentrates in exactly the moments when you most need it. The career that's no longer fulfilling, the city that no longer fits, the pace that has become unsustainable. Those are the moments when the cost of social mirroring reveals itself, not as a line item in a budget, but as the absence of viable alternatives. You can see the other path. You simply cannot afford to take it, not because you're broke, because your money is already spoken for by the life your social environment decided you should be living. Here's what this reveals and what it doesn't resolve neatly. The obvious response to social mirroring is opt out. Stop caring what others think. Live below your means. Resist the pressure. And that advice is not wrong, but it misses something important about the mechanism's depth. You can recognize social mirroring and still be subject to it. Seeing the field doesn't immediately free the compass. The rules are not just external. They have been internalized, converted into your own sense of self-worth, your own standards, your own definition of what a good life looks like. The work of disentangling what you actually want from what the mechanism has told you to want is not a financial exercise. It's not solved by a spreadsheet. It is something closer to an identity audit. A slow, often uncomfortable examination of which parts of your current life you would choose again, freely, without the social context that made them feel mandatory. Most people never do that audit. Not because they're incapable of it, because the mechanism makes the status quo feel like the result of free choice. Because every individual decision was rational. Because the life assembled around those decisions feels, from the inside, like the life you chose. It may be the life you chose, but it's worth asking, who was choosing with you? Somewhere along the way, the life you were building started building you instead. What's one expense in your life right now that you'd eliminate immediately if no one would ever know you'd done it? The rules that govern your spending are not written down anywhere. They don't need to be. The more invisible they are, the more effectively they operate, and the less visible the mechanism, the more valuable it becomes to everyone except the person running inside it.